Welcome to the Real Estate Pros Show, where we interview real estate investing professionals from coast to coast, as well as the service providers that serve the real estate investing industry. Our goal is simple: share what's working now to help you improve and scale your business to the next level and meet the pros that can help you get there. Real Estate Pros is powered by Investor Fuel, America's leader in helping real estate investors and professionals build the business you need to live the life you've always dreamed of. Let's start today's show. Property insurance for real estate investors doesn't have to be difficult, but it does need to be there to protect you when you need it. MyInvestorInsurance.com not only provides insurance at 15 to 30% cheaper than traditional agencies, it's built specifically for real estate investors like you. You can set up an account in about 2 minutes, get quotes on properties, turn on and turn off insurance for your fix and flip or rental properties in around 2 minutes without having to talk to anyone directly, all through our portal. There's no better way or faster way to make sure you've got the coverage you need to protect you, and no more lengthy policies either. Once you're set up, you're billed monthly and prorated by the day for however long your policy is active. It's powered by MSI, the third largest independent MGA, with 1.5 million customers and more than $1 billion in cumulative premiums written. Get set up today in about 2 minutes at myinvestorinsurance.com/fuel.
Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Dylan Silver, and today on the show I have real estate investor, agent, entrepreneur, proud Chicagoan, doing real estate in the southeastern region of the U.S., out of Alabama currently, Byron Pillow. Byron, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dylan. Pleasure to be here, man.
It's a pleasure to have you on the show here. I always like to start off at the top by asking folks how they got into the real estate space.
So when I was in college, I was a freshman / sophomore when the market crashed. And I was just interested in real estate. I have a degree in accounting, so I was like a numbers guy, organized by trade. And I just looked into it, and then I started looking at how, a lot of people became millionaires and such. And I saw real estate was like number one. So my interest was peaked there, and I decided, hey, I need to make that leap.
And so you were in school at the time. Did you put real estate on the back burner, or were you actively looking at deals while you were in school, or were you getting a license? How did it come about?
Yeah, I did attain my license my senior year of college, but I always was looking at different avenues and such like that. I first heard of wholesaling like my junior year, and I actually did my first deal in wholesaling my junior year of college, which was 2011. And it wasn't much. It was a $2,500 assignment fee, but I figured I did literally maybe 30 minutes worth of work, and I made $2,500. I was like, that's great.
So 2011 time frame, or right around there, wholesaling wasn't what it is today. There's probably a lot less about it, but I'm imagining you heard about it and we're listening to maybe multiple sources and trying to figure it out. What was the information that you were taking in to learn about wholesale?
So what I did was it was two things. One, I met a guy here in Huntsville who had told me he had been doing it for almost 10 years. And I was like, I had never heard of it. Before he called it wholesaling, he was just saying assignment of contract. So I actually looked into that. I met an attorney. I talked to him. I learned about the structure of doing deals. I learned about double closing. And then I also invested in some training. I don't know if you're familiar with Sean Terry, but I took a Sean Terry course. And I got a little bit more deeper information into it so I can learn how to do it more properly and more effectively. And then after that, it was just my people skills, which helped me to actually, get there. And then when I would call sellers and I come to appointments, they'll be like, you look so young. Why are you owning real estate and stuff like that? I'm like, well, you got to start out somewhere, and it kind of just took off from there.
I tell people this. If you're an effective communicator, if you like to talk to people, real estate's your game. And if you don't like to talk to people, you might also still be looking at real estate, but you're going to have to get out there. Because the thing that I didn't do initially, which I wish I had done, which hearing your story, you talk about meeting with attorneys, calling people, they're saying, oh, you look so young, is I was trying to learn everything, the logistics, the X's and O's, and try to be the most knowledgeable.
Stop living on an island and join the #1 mastermind in America for professional real estate investors. Investor Fuel is a community of hundreds of the nation's top investors working together to build stronger businesses and better lives. In addition to the amazing community of real estate investors acting as a board of advisors for one another, Investor Fuel members have access to 100% funding on purchase and repairs for our members only, a health insurance program, and benefits and discounts that more than pays for the membership of most of our members, meaning it's actually costing you money to not be a member of Investor Fuel. If you're looking to scale your business and build a business that allows you to live the life of your dreams, please visit investorfuel.com today and book a call with our team.
But then my business didn't scale at all until I started just fanatically networking, just like every opportunity that I could get, talking to someone within the real estate space, going to meetups, even when, I might have felt like, what do I have to provide? Before I was a licensed agent, before I had done a bunch of wholesale deals. But it totally changes you when you're on the other side of it and you're like, no, I want to help. And you probably feel the same way, Byron. I want to help young people, hungry people get into the real estate space.
Oh, most definitely, man. It's a way to change the outcome for your family in the future, build this generational wealth, all different kind of things and processes that I honestly hate to say this, that I wasn't really taught growing up, that I actually had to learn on my own. And I definitely am very charitable about sharing this information with others and letting people know, it's not really what you know, is more so about who you know. Like that really, that's an old saying, but it's so much true. It carries so much weight from now, even from when I first heard it, probably in the 90s. I don't know, it's still the same thing. I just hope that, when I do talk to people, hope they listen. Cause that's another thing, we fully don't listen sometimes. It goes in one ear and, out the other. That's another one of those phrases. And, people sometimes don't trust you from what you do. You can tell them what it is, but you got to build that thing. Luckily for me, I have always been scared of laws. So, that's the reason why I went to talk to attorneys first and stuff, to make sure whatever I was doing was legal, that I wouldn't have any repercussions to me from doing what I was doing. Once I found that all out, I just took off.
One of the interesting things about, real estate in general is you have people who come from like generational real estate. Their grandparents were real estate brokers, or their great grandparents were builders and contractors. And so then they became involved in the trades, and the service providers to the real estate space are just as integral as, everybody else, right? You don't have the home without the builders. But then you have other people like me who had nobody in the real estate space, where when I would even go tell people that I wanted to go do real estate, they would just laugh. And they would be like, okay, yeah, okay, yeah, the home cash for keys, whatever, sure, good luck with that. And so you mentioned that was it a Google search that got you into, how to make money in real estate?
Yeah, I went and I was searching just different ways of making money in real estate after I found out about the market crash. And then I start to look at, public information, like auctions at the courthouse. And I was looking at people buying houses for $2,000 to, $25,000. And then when I go look at the house that they paid $20,000 for, and this is a house that's technically worth, $300,000 in 2007, 2008, and I was like, wow, they were getting good deals on it because there's so many foreclosures at this present time. And if you had cash readily available to purchase them, and then I like I said, I looked into how I can wholesale those deals. I looked at, a little bit later on into it, I looked into finding like private money lenders, hard money lenders and stuff like that, so I can do fix and flips. I did my first fix and flip, and even though I was in real estate for a while, I did my first fix and flip in 2015, and I actually found a private money lender who I didn't have to pay anything monthly. Like they literally got paid once I sold the property. And, of course it cuts down on your profits, but I mean, I literally put no money down. All I did was sit, have a conversation, presented the numbers, which I'm very good at. Like that's my niche is the whole numbers thing. I tell everybody it's because I'm smooth and stuff like that, because I dress nice, but it's like I'm very good with those numbers. I'm precise with it as far as ARVs and such like that. And I presented him, he funded it, everything.
Accounting background probably helps there.
If you're looking for consistent, high-quality leads, look no further than Investor Machine. Investor Machine isn't just another agency. It's the most sophisticated, data-driven lead generation company on the planet for real estate investors, and serves the role of being not just a lead generator for your business, but a marketing partner that is helping you achieve your goals along the way. Go to investormachine.com to learn more and schedule a call with our team today.
Just a tad bit, just a tad bit.
Just a tad. You know, when I think about the path that you went on, it's different from my own, but my path was I was tired of working a W-2 job and knew that the threat that other people perceived from commission only, you know, real estate, you know, there's uncertainty. I actually felt that level of threat working a W-2 job because I felt like I'm missing out on so much of my life. Like I'm living here, you know, and also there's people that are, you know, 20, 30 years my senior, and I didn't exactly like how it was looking out. Like, you know, am I going to end up feeling and looking the way that they do? I hate to be so blunt about it, but I just said there's got to be a better way. And so I got licensed in Dallas, and you were in college when you got licensed. Walk me through that process of getting the real estate license, of going to take the test, and while also being a college student.
So it was actually very easy for me. I'm very studious. Literally, I did an online class. It's $250. You know, you go at your own pace. Once my senior year, I literally had on like 4 classes that I had to take. So I had a lot of time, so I didn't want to have just idle time being wasted. Literally 35 days it took me to actually pass the course. I took the test probably like a week later, passed it on the first time. And in Alabama, that's great because Alabama has an average about 4 times before somebody actually passes it. At this present second, like I said, I was a broke college student. You know, $75 back then to me to take a test was a lot of money. So I was like, I'm not wasting that opportunity, especially after spending $250 on the course. Went in there, knocked it out, passed, and I really got my license. And I didn't actually have it active for a while, but I had it obtained.
Because it costs so much money.
Yeah, because once I got that license, and they told me, yeah, you got to join the MLS and you got to join the brokerage.
$1,000 here. I'm like, oh my God.
So then everything was like, I need $2,500 just to be a realtor. I was like,
that's exactly right. I was gonna say it's like $3,000 to be a realtor. It might have been a little bit less back then, but still.
I was like, how much is it to be an inactive realtor? They was like, $200. I was like, so
that'll be
once I get me some money, I get myself going. And like I said, literally, well, it was a year and a half, like, because I graduated December 2012 and I started January of 2014. I had the money then and I went active. I started with a mom and pop brokerage out of Birmingham that a friend of mine's family owned in Birmingham. And, you know, his family, they had embraced me anyway. And, you know, they took me in, they provided a lot of lessons for me and stuff as far as networking and also learning Southern business, because there's a difference in way business is conducted up north, as they say here, and then it is down south. You know, there's still this element of being, you know, relatable and outgoing, fun, and like a family orientated thing that transcends on both sides, but it's more heavily down here. You know, in the South, if I sell you a house, usually they're gonna invite you over for dinner or some sort of holiday cookout consistently. Whereas, you know, when I work back home in Chicago, it's just about the numbers. If your numbers is perfect, they think you do good business. You know, it's not about telling somebody, you know, Happy Hanukkah, you know, Rosh Hashanah, you know, nothing like that. Happy Kwanzaa, you know, Eid Mubarak, none of that. You know, they don't care about that. They numbers are tight. We're good. Byron's a great guy. Here, you got to know everything. Yeah, you got to know a day.
Getting out of school, were you focused on trying to make real estate full time? What was it like? Did you get a job immediately getting out of school? What was the transition like as a, you know, recent graduate?
So when I got out of college, I did little odd jobs, but like not traditional jobs. So like first thing I did was I started selling gym shoes, sneakers. That was my first thing. I sold probably.
If you're a new or newer real estate investor looking to launch or grow your real estate investing business, please check out Investor Fuel Club. It's a coaching community, but unlike anything you've ever seen before. And you can actually partner with members of our mastermind from coast to coast on deals right in your market. There's no better opportunity to build a consistent business than to literally partner with pros to help you avoid costly mistakes, avoid the need for capital to do deals, and help you eliminate your fears as you're starting your business. Learn more about Investor Fuel Club at investorfuel.com/club.
For a year, maybe about 1,000 pairs of shoes.
Mm.
I just was selling them consistently. I actually was also a party promoter as well. So I used the little bit of, notoriety I had from college still left over for the few years to throw parties. And then as that was going, I was also building, my network. I was meeting people and I was explaining to them I was getting in real estate. And I literally every day for almost 2 years, I wore a bow tie every day. And I just would go to lawyers' offices, title companies, other real estate brokerages. I would meet with HVAC guys, contractors, builders, anybody that was around the sphere of real estate somehow. I would just go and meet them and I would tell them my name is Byron. I'm interested in getting real estate. I just want to meet you for, future purposes. I never know when I might need whatever it is, HVAC pest guy,
Man.
a bus driver. I would just go meet these people. Like I said, I learned those skills in Chicago to just meet everybody. My uncle always said, if you go in a room with 1,000 people, all 1,000 of them people should know you by the time it's done. So, I've always been like, I have never had an issue with going in a room with people I don't know, and just, hey, I'm Byron. My uncle told me this other thing. He always said, ask the person, how much does an elephant weigh? And people be like, what? And be like, enough to break the ice. How I'm Byron.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, real talk. It always brings a smile out of a person's face. You get to talking to them, and then you explain to them what you're trying to do, what you're interested in, and then you provide whatever's necessary for that person. And then, like I said, I jumped full-fledged in 2014. I had enough money saved where I could pay my rent for some months, which I went ahead and did. I owned my car, so I didn't have to worry about paying a car note. I just took off and I did what it was ever. My first sale was actually 4 hours and 25 minutes away from where I lived at. I would travel all up and down Alabama. I've been to places in Alabama that people who are originally from Alabama have never heard of. And then I wanted to expand to Georgia because there's so many people I went to college with that they moved to Atlanta and surrounding areas. So, I just went there, got Georgia's license, saw how easy it was, started doing the same thing I did in Alabama, repeating, meeting everybody, lawyers, attorneys, garbage men, whatever it was. I just kept repeating that. And that was a part of my system, was to meet everybody to the point where everybody remembered me. And because I have a very interesting last name, with it being a device you lay your head on at night, people always remember me. So it was like, yeah, that's the pillow guy. Yeah, I remember him real good. And I start making different, slangs and such like that. I tell people, my name's Byron Pillow, but don't sleep on me. You can sleep comfortable if you lay your head on Byron Pillow as your realtor, stuff like that. Just little different things that help people remember. And then they just like, yeah, he's got a bubbly personality. He really loves Chicago. He always talks about it, so that those things help me out a lot.
When did investing come into play, and when did you start working heavily with investors?
So that's how I actually started my career, was working with them, because I looked at the numbers. I looked at people traditionally buying, like, I want my forever home or my starter home or whatever the case was a lower number in comparison to that of investors. It was like literally 8-1. An investor about 8 houses a year, whereas in one traditional buyer, they just buying one house. I looked at the fact that I can just do it in volume, and then I would connect these people. And then, like I say, I have a good CRM. It's just I have an issue with sometimes with, reaching back out to people about certain stuff like that, which I'm going to work on. It's definitely always something you continuously work on with building yourself and your brand within real estate. And I just start talking to these people and finding what they wanted. Hey, I want something where, I need a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom that Section 8 to pay me $1587 for. Give me a second, I'll find it for you. I'll find it by Tuesday.
Connected.
It's under contract Thursday, sold next Wednesday.
So let's pivot a bit here and talk about when you started getting into fix and flipping on your own and some of the rentals that you've got on your own. When you were getting into real estate, it was with the intention of owning the real estate or being involved in it yourself. It's probably similar to me in some way. I look at all the work that I'm doing with investors as well. How do I become the investor? So walk us through that first deal, where the first fix and flip on your own, or the first rental property that you had.
So my first fix and flip, it was actually in Birmingham. It was on the east side of Birmingham. And it was a property that was a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bathroom. It was 1,300 square feet. It was a little bit over there, like 1,350 something. But I looked at, the neighborhood, the comps. I also looked at people were buying with that Section 8 path program, the way you go from Section 8 to actually a homeowner. And I just looked at those type of things. And then the connection that I made before, they were actually a private money lender. They allowed me to, borrow funds to actually acquire the property and to fix the property up. I didn't have to pay anything back until we closed on the property, which was great because I didn't have to, most of the time with hard money lenders and private money lenders, they want like an interest only payment monthly until, you sell. I didn't have to pay anything out of the property. I just got the work done, and everything was done quickly. I made everything go up to FHA regulations. That's with the contractors I connected with, they knew how to do those things. And then, it took me almost 2 months to get the property ready. I listed it and I had it under contract in 22 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's quite the W for your first fix and flip. I want to ask you, because we are coming up on time here. For folks who are thinking about getting into real estate, would you recommend that they get a real estate license? I got my real estate license. Or would you say, in some ways it can impede you if you're looking at doing some of these more creative things like wholesale, subject to deals and so on and so forth?
So yes, I would actually, and I tell people this now, if I learned all the different, tactics as far as real estate investing first, except for just learning wholesaling, I probably wouldn't have my real estate license, to be honest with you. I would probably just put a heavy focus in that. If you got good credit, that's pretty much all you really need. You can get with a realtor and they can send you everything that you want. Trust me, us realtors, we are happy to, send whatever we can to anybody to make whatever form of commission that we can make. Trust me, I'm pretty sure I've made all my investors millions of dollars. Well, I made myself hundreds of thousands of dollars, So I'm pretty sure that,
Right.
if you were to connect with the right people, because that's my main thing is you have to network correctly. You have to meet everybody. That's the one thing. You do that, you really won't need no license. Don't be scared to see a person.
Yeah,
Because
I agree with you.
it's a lot of people that are introverts, but you got to come about their shell. If you don't come about that shell, you never meet the people that you need to meet to achieve the things you need to achieve.
Byron, when I would consider myself an introvert, and it was just so hard. I remember, I'm not going to say the guy's name, but there was a social media personality, big investor at an auction in San Antonio, Texas, where I was living at the time. And I saw him at the auction, and I just didn't go up and say hi. And I knew who he was. I don't think he knew who I was, but I knew who he was. And I was just like petrified there. And I was like, oh, that was terrible. I can't believe I just kind of flaked out and saying hello to somebody. And since I came up to Dallas, I made it just an absolute focus. Like, hey, I'm going to figure out how to get good at networking. And I was like, well, how do I do it? How do I do it? How do I do it? And it really is a muscle. Like, it's honestly something that I can say, if you're introverted and you're not great at going out and you feel like you have a low social battery, it's literally like going to the gym. Like, the more you go to the gym, the better you are at lifting weights. The more you focus on not just being social, because it's being social with new people, like making connections with stranger type of thing. That is a difficult skill, I think, for me and some other people. But now with the podcast and then just going to events all the time, Now it's like old hat. Now to your point, now it's like, hey, what's your name? What do you do? How can I make you money? Like let's network together. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Well, I will say this much. I learned a lot of stuff just in life from my uncle and from music. And one of my favorite artists is Jay-Z. And in one of his songs, he has said, "Amaze scholars the way we coin phrases for dollars." So I took that and of course put my own twist on it to learn about it. And I've always had that as a thing of mine that I was like, okay, I'm going to make sure that everybody that I meet understands what I want to do and what my goals are in life. And I want to amaze them by what I'm saying and what I'm actually going to do. And if you do those things and have those certain tactics and beliefs in yourself, you will find success. Like you said, it is very hard to get up out of that shell, but if you're able to break it, you will find all the success you need.
Byron, we are coming up on time here. Where can folks go if they'd like to learn more about your business or reach out to you, get in touch with you?
I'm very big on Instagram. My Instagram is One Smooth Realtor, and that's the number one, and then SMOOTHREALTOR, Realtor, and that's pretty much for all of social media. It's just the same name. My LinkedIn is Byron Pillow, of course. My Facebook is Byron Pillow Realtor with EXP Realty, and yeah, reach out to me. And plus, my number's public. If you just want to talk to me, I'm one of those type of people. I'm happy to talk to you about anything. It doesn't matter if it's real estate, sports, music, cars, food, real Chicago pizza, not the deep dish stuff, because we don't eat that. That's like more so like celebration tourist pizza. Whatever. We could talk about whatever you need.
Byron, thank you so much for coming on the show here today.
You're welcome, man. Like I said, it was a pleasure, man. I want you to prosper with you in your podcast, of course, man, and definitely keep continuously doing this, man.
Thanks for joining us for today's Real Estate Pros Show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing for your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. If you're interested in joining us as a guest of this show, please visit investorfuel.com/pros to apply. You can also check the show notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and much more. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next show.